from the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Hey everyone, good morning and happy Tuesday, July 26, 2022. Busy show today, so we're going to get right into it. We are on the road. My traditional espresso is not here, obviously. My traditional lights and setup isn't here. So, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to share with you some of the stuff that I've been paying attention to over the last 24 hours, some of the things that I think are going to impact cybersecurity practitioners, some of it directly, some of it indirectly, some of it through policy, which is a lot of, what people view cybersecurity as, almost policy. CyberHubPodcast.com. Find all the latest, including yesterday's episode where we went into a lot of detail. We'll start off with our first story of the day, folks. But before we do that, again, if you're drinking a cup of coffee, if you're joining me now, missing out on the fun, coffee cup cheers. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into today's show. So researchers are finding that Russia-based ransomware networks with foothold in the U.S. A Russia-based ransomware command and control network has been found to have a foothold in at least one U.S. network, according to researchers. This specific network where they have the contact has an attack surface, has significant ramification here, specifically because it's showing US IPs and it's being taken here in the US. The two hosts contain a Rapid7 exploitation kit, a Metasploit, and a command and control tool called Dymus C2. One of the hosts also processed the Posh C2 tool. Census located a host in Ohio, also processing it with an initial Russian host, and leveraging historical analysis, discovered the Ohio host processed a malware package with software similarities to the Russian ransomware host processing Posh C2, as mentioned above, in October of 2021. And you can obviously see kind of how that could be extremely advantageous. If we see exports going to the U.S., you're less likely to look at it as an event and more likely to trigger it as maybe a false positive, or your team might dismiss it because it doesn't fit the TTPs and IOCs of a specific type of Russian malware. Two of the hosts also found have malware, and other hosts are connected to Bitcoin, according to Census, who said the host allowed the group to infect and exploit a victim via ransomware and then a method to be paid. There's a slew about this and really what this means. CISO also released a report around the Medusa locker as well, with different Tor addresses. So you can see that the Russians are getting very, very crafty, and that's what typical cyber criminals will do. This is another one, folks, where threat actors are increasingly using WebAssembly coded Cryptominers to evade detection. As many as 207 websites have been infected with malicious code designed to launch a cryptocurrency miner by leveraging the WebAssembly on the browser. Sakuri, which published details of the campaign, said it launched an investigation after one of its clients had their computer slow down significantly every time upon navigating to their own WordPress portal. Once decoded, the contents of the auto JavaScript immediately revealed the functionality of a crypto miner, which starts mining when a visitor lands on the compromised site. So WebAssembly, which is supported by all major browsers, is a binary instruction format that offers performance improvements over JavaScript, allowing applications written in languages like C or C++ and Rust to be compiled into low-level assembly-like language that can be directly run on the browser. The actor's controlled domain is said to have been registered in January of 2021, implying the infrastructure continued to remain active for at least a year and a half without attracting any sort of attention. On top of that, the domain also came with the ability to automatically generate JavaScript files that masquerade as seemingly harmless files or legitimate services like for Google Ads to conceal its malicious behavior. While you look at this, crypto mining is a direct financial hit. It's not as sexy as a ransomware or malware attack. It's not as sexy as a data breach, but it is just as painful in the pocket of organizations. And it's critical that we start to get those TTPs and IOCs in play in monitoring those as we go through. 2 U.S. senators introduced a bipartisan bill around quantum computing cybersecurity bill. The co-sponsored bill that passed in July by Senator Portman of Ohio and Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire addresses federal agencies' preparedness for quantum computing, requires them to adopt proper defenses against quantum computing-enabled data breaches. The bill underlines the need to migrate federal agencies' IT systems to post-quantum cryptography and mandate that the OMB will supervise the migration process. The rapid progress of quantum. Well, why give this to OMB? Why not give it to CISO? That's their job. NIST has issued post-quantum cryptographic standards and will keep Congress informed on the status of federal agencies' migration to post-quantum cryptography standards and post-quantum cryptography risks, defenses, and necessary funding. If passed by the Senate, the bill, which is also supported by companies like Google, IBM, and Quitanium, would then go to President Biden to be signed into law. LockBit is claiming a ransomware attack on the Italian tax agency. Italian authorities are investigating claims made by LockBit that they've breached the network of the Italian Internal Revenue Service. LockBit claims they stole 100 gigabytes worth of data, including company documents, scans, financial reports, and contracts, and those will be leaked online if a ransom is not paid by August 1st. The Italian Revenue Agency shared an official statement saying the alleged theft of data from the tax information system from a technical perspective carried out. They've ruled a cyber attack may have occurred. It excludes it per se. Sugai SPA also manages the IT infrastructure used by other Italian agencies, including the Ministry of Justice, Interior, Education, the State Attorney General's Office, and the Department of Treasury. Interesting that this is going on now in LockBit in Italy because their Prime Minister, Mario Draghi, the former ECB president, has resigned just last week. So seeing this attack go through kind of reminds you a little bit, gives you a Costa Rica rub a little bit when it comes to launching these types of attacks against governments in transition or new governments about to take power. And finally, researchers at Kaspersky have analyzed a UEFI firmware rootkit that appears to target a specific motherboard models from Gigabyte and Asus. It's been dubbed Cosmic Strand and likely developed by an unknown Chinese-speaking threat actor. The rootkit was found located in the firmware images of Gigabyte and Asus motherboards using the H81 chipset, suggesting a common vulnerability may have been exploited for infection. Kaspersky believes the firmware changes might have been performed with an automated patcher, which would imply that the attacker either had physical access to the infected motherboards or used an implant already running on the motherboard. Supply chain. The infected firmware images contain a CSM Core DXC driver, which facilitates the system's boot in legacy mode via the MBR that's been patched with code that runs the system startup to trigger an execution chain, leading to deployment of the kernel-level implant window. A malicious hook set up in the boot managers allows the threat to modify the Windows kernel loader before it runs to set up a second hook called at a later stage of the startup process to take control of the execution process, inject shell-coded memory. Next, after a sleep period, the malware fetches its final payload. Cosmic Strand was also seen attempting to disable the patch guard security mechanism. A user mode sample Kaspersky researcher found in the memory of an infected machine, and which is likely linked to Cosmic Strand, was designed to run command lines to create a user account added to the local admin group. The researchers identified two variants of the rootkit, one used between the end of 2016 and 2017, and another in 2020, each of them with its own command and control server. Kaspersky has identified private individuals from China, Iran, Russia, and Vietnam, none related to any organization or industry impacted by this one as well, folks. That's it for our show today. We'll be back with a whole lot more tomorrow. Until then, have a great rest of your day and stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.